What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another video, and in today's video I'm going to share my opinion on why it would be important to know and accept your preferences. Introversion and extroversion are ways to describe personality. They are temperaments. So let's define them. Let's start with introverts. The most common way to describe an introvert is that they get drained by social settings and they regain their energy by being alone. There are a couple myths about introverts that I personally agree that they are myths. They aren't necessarily true, and that introverts aren't always socially awkward. They don't all hate people. They aren't all rude. They don't all need to be fixed. And they don't all wish they were extroverts. Now, the most common way to describe an extrovert would be talkative, sociable, enthusiastic, outgoing, and they find social gatherings refreshing and energizing rather than draining. For some people, answering the question, are you an introvert or extrovert, is a very easy answer. They know exactly what end of the spectrum they fall on. But for others, it's not so simple. Adam Grant has done a study on people and found out that over 2/3 of people identify more as ambiverts. Now, that is a person that has both introvert and extrovert tendencies, so they feel like they fall more in the middle of the scale rather than on one extreme. What does that mean for ambiverts? That means they have a much easier time adjusting to social settings or being alone or just life circumstances in general. Having a better sense of where you fall on the scale allows you to build insight into your tendencies and your preferences, which increases your self-awareness and your emotional intelligence, which makes you perform at a higher level in life because you know what makes you function best. This is an example of somebody who is aware and accepting of their preferences. If they are an introvert and they know that they just spent the whole day socializing with people at work, extra busy socializing day full of clients' interactions, they know that they will not be going to the work cocktail at the bar later that night because they know to perform their best the next day, they need to regroup, re-energize, and that is done alone. They know what their preferences are, they know what their tendencies are if they were to go to that cocktail and what they'd be like the next day. They've accepted it, they made a choice based on their preferences. They maybe know that they will have an introvert hangover the next day if they do over-socialize themselves. My opinion is that not enough people give their preferences enough thought, and here's why. We grow up in a house that has more than ourselves in it, so we have the behavior of others affecting us and pressuring us and influencing us. Not in a bad way, it's just the way it works when you're around people. Then you maybe move out and get a roommate, then you have that influence around you. When you are completely alone and living alone, that is when you probably have the most opportunity to do exactly what you want to do based on your preferences and tendencies. The only way I see yourself giving yourself what you need in a setting with multiple people around you, family or friends or roommate, is if you are super clear on what your preferences are and you are comfortable putting up boundaries around it to give yourself what you need. For example, my sister is more on the introverted side of the spectrum, and she knew from a very young age what her preferences were. She knew from like 10 years old she preferred being alone. Over-socializing was not something she wanted to do. She knew how she felt after she over-socialized, so she didn't allow that to happen. She had very clear boundaries around that. Her door was shut the majority of the day. That's an example of somebody who has very clear boundaries around their preferences and who is very aware, because that allowed her to perform well when she needed to be on, where she needed to socialize, when she needed to go to school. I think this is important to let you know because it's never too late to start figuring out what your preferences are, what you like, what you don't like, and how you perform your best. As you can probably tell, based on me talking about this, I'm more on the extroverted side. So I've noticed with myself over the years that I used to be more extroverted younger. And as I've gotten older, I've learned to appreciate more of my alone time. I do sometimes feel a bit drained after social gatherings. I am a homebody, so it's a bit of a weird combination, an extrovert but loves being at home. I'd rather have like people over than go out. But I do find myself being more drained than I was when I was younger. So I feel like I'm gravitating more towards the middle of the spectrum and like an ambivert, because I could be alone and really enjoy that, and I could be with people and really enjoy that. So as time goes on, we fluctuate on the spectrum. And my sister, who is really, really introverted as a kid, over the years with her work and living in different parts of the world, she has totally blossomed into an ambivert, where she can really do the social stuff, and then she really loves to be alone still. So it's all about being aware of where you are on the spectrum and how it affects your mood and your day and your relationships and work, being flexible and being adaptable. My best friend and my sister are both more on the introverted side, so I was asking them, what do they feel when they are overstimulated and over socialized? I wanted to know, like, what did it feel like when you get home and you're like, introvert hangover is beginning type of thing. So they said that they are completely fatigued mentally and physically. It's like they are tapped out. They are like, I need to just lie down and just not talk to anybody. No phone, no texting, no social media, because that's another form of socializing and interacting, and it's too much. Their mental health is affected, anxiety is affected. These are reasons why it's so important to be aware, so that you don't allow yourself to be put in those positions too often. If it's one thing led to another type of thing, and it's like a dinner that turned into clubbing, that turned into another friend's house, and then it's like, you don't know how it happened, fine. But if you can help yourself and you can organize your schedule so that you aren't put in these situations, this is why it's important to be aware of your preferences. So I asked both of them to give me a little rundown of what it's like, a typical day for them from start to finish, morning till night, where they do these things and they know that they're gonna have a good day. Again, this is preferences. Do they know their preferences on what they need during the day in order to be like, I'm good, I'm not over socialized, I'm not under socialized, I feel good with my mental health, I feel good physically. So they were both really similar actually, which would make sense. They're both on the introverted side. So they both need around 7 or 8 hours of sleep. They like to start their day with coffee first, exercise, listening to music while they get ready. My friend Laura said that cooking and meal prepping is really, really therapeutic for her. She really needs to do that. They both said that they time block their alone time if they know they have a social event later that day or earlier that day. So if they are going out for breakfast with friends, they know that later on that day they're gonna have some alone time, and vice versa. If they're going for dinner with friends earlier that day, they give themselves that alone time to be able to go out and socialize. My sister was saying that she's really, really aware that she has to work on, when she feels overly socialized, how to not show it in her face and her physiology. She says that she feels almost like trapped when it's been one thing after another, maybe for several days. You know how it could be, let's say with the holidays or a birthday or celebrations. You're kind of stuck, right? It's like life happens. People come over and you go out, and she feels like the feeling of being trapped like that makes her go mute when she knows that she cannot get out of it and she's overly socialized but she can't do anything about it. She just shuts down, to the point where I've said to her once, like, are you okay? Is everything okay? She's been really focusing on trying to jump out of that and just know that it will come to an end and she will regain her energy, and they are once in a while type of things, but she is aware that it is obvious and it's something, we all have to work on. And I think for extroverts like myself, I prefer to talk about my feelings with other people and talk about their feelings and see what's going on with them and what's going on with me and whatnot. I'd rather do that than be alone and think about my feelings. But what we all have to, or I used to be like that. What I've realized is that my own feelings and my own, I am worth my time. Being at home alone with my own thoughts and my own feelings is okay. It's healthy, it's good. You're feeling things, you're in tune with your emotions, you're in tune with yourself, and you're not suppressing anything. So my advice for extroverts is that give yourself the time that you give to others. When you listen to others and you're super engaged with their lives and you give them advice, listen to yourself that way too, and try to do that with yourself when you're at home alone. Being at home alone, I understand, could be not as stimulating, but once in a while for yourself, I think it's really healthy to work on that. So just to recap, importance of knowing your preferences and tendencies, has to do with where you fall on the scale of introvert, ambivert, extrovert, and also what your preferences are for your day-to-day schedule. Forget other people. What are your preferences for your day-to-day schedule that makes you function the best? I know for me, I need 8 hours of sleep. I need that. I'm not a fun person the next day if I don't get that, and I have accepted that. I many times have left my sister and my best friend at clubs or parties or dinners, even if it's like, one of those late 9-10 o'clock dinners. I know what I'm going to be like the next day. If I'm working the next day, forget it. I'll go for the appetizer and leave. Like, I know what I need, and it makes me function better the next day. Accepting what you prefer. If you need help with that, try to write down, do different things for a week. Every day, do something different. Start the day different. Go to bed earlier, go to bed later. It'll be a fun experiment to see what makes you tick, what makes you feel good, what makes you feel great, and then to repeat those great things. You may think you know people, but they actually have different needs than you think. If you want to have better relationships, ask the people around you. Where are you on this scale, and what do you need day to day? Am I helping give that to you? Am I calling you too much? Am I not calling you enough? Asking this question and having this conversation is another great way to be more aware about what your friends need, family needs, significant other needs, and have better relationships, better quality of life. So that is the video for today. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know where you fall on the scale in the comments below, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.
Are you an extrovert or an introvert?
For the majority of the day, he goes far away from me. He knows that he likes to be more in the dark. He likes the quiet. He likes to put himself in his crate or in his bed, and he knows what he likes. He accepts it. Fonzie knows his preferences, and you should too.